Hi, my name is Dave Smart. I'm the Director of Product Cost Engineering here at Creation Technologies. Well, to understand what conflict minerals legislation is, we really need to understand what conflict minerals are. It's affecting the electronics industry in a large way these days, and it's become a big issue not just with the public, but with the government and with the entire industry. To really understand, we have to go back to the root of what the conflict is. In Central Africa, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, there's a large amount of violence going on every day. This is a zone that's been going through multiple wars over the years, and the people are in a dire situation. One of the things that's happening there is there are rebel groups that are operating there that are funding themselves through the illegal mining and the smuggling of certain minerals. These minerals are gold, tungsten, tin, and tantalum. Now, this has become a larger issue because these armed groups are committing genocide, sexual violence. They are continuing to employ child soldiers. Unfortunately, within the Congo, the political reaction has been largely inconsistent. And it's important to understand that within the Congo, there are still large areas of the country that are outside of the government's sphere of influence. And the reality is they have limited ability to govern in those areas. In reality, the armed groups are governing much more so than the government. And in some cases, the members of the government, the members of the military are not getting paid. They're being funded by the trade as well. So what's the end result of this? There's been a lot of pressure from consumer groups, from NGOs, non-government organizations, to see what we can do to try and stop this violence. If we look at it, people still want to have their cell phones, people still want to have their pacemakers, and they still want to drive around in their cars. But I do believe that if people are fully aware of the consequences of the things that they're buying and the origin of everything that is within that, it helps them to make a more informed decision. There has been an ongoing UN mission in the Congo to try and protect the civilians as well as the aid workers. The other thing they're trying to do there is to try and help stabilize the government. And in some cases, this has mean actually taking part in offensive campaigns to try and eradicate some of these rebel groups. So what has this meant in terms of legislation? It's really started with the US government. The legislation started with them trying to put an act through Congress to stop the trade of these conflict minerals, specifically in the electronics industry. While the act was not able to pass on its own, they did add it on to the Dodd-Frank Act. This was the Financial Reform Act that came out after the financial crisis of 2008-2009. The responsibility for implementing this legislation was put upon the Securities Exchange Commission. Now that might seem a little bit strange because their job is to regulate publicly traded companies in the US. And perhaps it's not perfect, but it is a start. What it requires companies to do is to go through their own supply chain and say, am I using any of these minerals, the gold, the tin, the tantalum, the tungsten, and then be able to trace it back to the country of origin. So if I'm buying a printed circuit board and it has gold on it, can I reliably go back and say, this gold did not come from the affected region, which is the Congo and the surrounding countries? So the legislation has built-in provisions to sort of ramp up slowly. Over the first couple of years, we are allowed to say that we're not sure where it's coming from. For the 2 years after that, large companies need to be able to say where it's coming from, and then for 2 years after that, small companies. Is this enough time? We're still waiting to find out. This has been the first year that we've actually started to see the reports coming out, and really we're discovering as an industry what the challenges are going to be in tracing back to the actual source of the mineral.